Top five, top five, top five.
Topical back with another video. I'm Strange Wang. He is Nate. Today we want to top 5 Tom Hanks films in honor of his film Finch, which honestly nobody's probably going to watch because it's going to Apple. And who the fuck has Apple? But it's a streaming service.
People who watch Ted Lasso.
Who?
It's a very popular show. You just live under a rock.
I don't watch TV shows. But he's going to tell you about how our top 5s work and about our social media. And that he will tell you that now.
It's true. If you scroll down to the description box below and pop it open, you'll find links to our social media accounts. So go and give us a follow on those. We also have links to our Patreon account and our Coffee account, where if you would like to help our channel grow in a financial manner, we would greatly appreciate that. If you don't know how our top 5 works, he's going to start with his 5 and 4. I'll give my 5 and 4, 3, 2, 3, 2. Then we trade off number ones. We also have something called the Zemeckis rule, which just means if we both have the same movie on our list, but one person has it 2 spots or higher, they'll say Zemeckis. And we won't talk about it until we get to it on theirs to save you some time.
Yeah. We're shouting out Robert Zemeckis not for Forrest Gump, but for Back to the Future. But I'll go ahead and give my number 5. Did you do social media yet?
Yeah, I did the social media.
I'm high on drugs. My number 5. Shouts out The Bachelor Party first. I had to take that movie off my list. That movie's great. And it also contains this scene.
Strange Wang right in my palm.
So my number 5 is Sleepless in Seattle. I'm a sucker for Nora Ephron films. And this has Tom Hanks in it. It has Meg Ryan. And they're so endearing. It's also a product of its time.
Correct.
Because it's a call-in dating thing.
Right.
That his son sets up and now he's drowning in... God damn it. Let that fucking thing go. He's drowning in pussy because his son called and now all these women are writing him. And Meg Ryan, she's like, what if? He sounds so lovely on the phone. I've never seen him. They set up a date. It's romantic. It's amazing. They are such good actors that it carries over and takes this mediocre rom-com and it elevates it. And I love rom-coms. Strange Wang, big fan of rom-coms.
Yeah. Nothing like falling in love with the guy who's solely responsible for destroying your business.
That's not that movie.
Oh, you're right. My bad. Wait, what did you say? Oh, you said Sleepless in Seattle. My bad.
My number 4 is You Got Mail, which is that movie.
Called it.
And again, Nora Ephron, romantic comedy, Hanks, Meg Ryan, mediocre story, elevated. Woman, family bookstore is being closed down by Tom Hanks, and she thinks that he's colder than a polar bear's toenail, and she hates him, but I am. Chatting and whatnot, they connect, but they don't know each other because they only know the user. God damn it.
Just, you got to learn how to push through these things. Like, it was all over my face the whole time I was talking. You just got to keep moving. Now he's up my nose.
They don't know what each other looks like, but they know they hate each other, and then they finally meet, fall in love, and he's not so bad. Last time I watched that, we got knowing the movie, and Brittany was like, man, he's cold like you. And I said, what you mean, Keisha? And she said, that's exactly what the fuck I mean, and I haven't talked to her in 9 months. But anyways, great film of its time, but that's okay with me because I'm old enough to remember that time, and I'm a sucker for rom-coms. And like I said, they elevate it. So this is a essential rom-com classic for Strange Wang.
Nice. So my honorable mention is Toy Story because voice acting is important and he does very good for a very large franchise. But I love his actual acting in so many other films. Didn't make my list. My number 5, however, is going to be Saving Private Ryan. I like war movies a lot. Really, we have like a bajillion World War II movies at this point, but this one gives such a more like personal, like kind of intimate, time you're spending with these characters because it's not just about the war itself. It's about this like specific mission. It does a really good job of getting you invested in those. And the role that Tom Hanks plays, being a school teacher who is now like a person in command of a small platoon, and balancing like the natural dadness of Tom Hanks with having to make the hard decisions and like be sort of tough with his guys that he has to do. He pulls it off really, really well. And it is a surprisingly like It's a surprisingly emotional war film, and I don't think that it works if you don't have Tom Hanks in that like type of character. So that's my number 5. My number 4 is going to be probably a Zemeckis, because it's going to be A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Zemeckis.
Yeah. Okay.
So my number 3 is a film I forgot. I accidentally saw it on his list when I went to say something to him. And I saw it, I was like, oh shit, how did I forget about that film? Because I think it's a Leonardo DiCaprio film, and it is Catch Me If You Can.
Well, that's also Zemeckis.
My number 2 is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. You know, Tom Hanks is a second generation. He's like a new coming of Cary Grant and James Stewart put together. And Tom Hanks. That's who it is, you know. There's no one that is on Tom Hanks' level when it comes to romantic movies, rom-coms, comedy, just endearingness as a whole, or when he needs to be in a little bit of an asshole, like in a couple of these films that are on our list, or the one where he's a baseball coach. What's that one called?
I forgot about that one. It's A League of Their Own.
League of Their Own, you know. He can do it all.
That might have been my number 5.
And he still has a little bit of that endearing quality, even when he does play an asshole. So, to me, there is nobody else that could play Mr. Rogers except for James Stewart. And he's not with us anymore, unfortunately. So, it had to be Tom Hanks. And every time he comes on screen, I just crack a smile. I can't help but to, like, my heart melts a little bit because of how, like, good and kind this person is. You can feel that coming off the screen, and the screen presence of that character and bringing it to life is just, it's amazing. Every time I watch this movie, you know, I'm going to have a range of emotions. I'm going to cry a little bit. I'm going to laugh. It's just the screen presence of him on this film, I would rival it with any film in the last 30 years.
Wow.
Ease. The greatest of ease.
That's right.
Yeah, also love this movie for all the same reasons that you said. After getting the Mr. Rogers documentary, which we both also loved a lot, I was definitely in a place where I was ready for more Mr. Rogers. I agree with you. I don't think that any like known actor could have played that role other than Tom Hanks. It's the only choice that makes any real sense to me at all. I also agree with your point about James Stewart and would have loved to have gotten to see that. So like the only reason it's my number 4, and this is such like a personal like nitpick thing, and it's just because like I didn't ask for this. I don't even want this. It just happens. My ears just pick up on it every time I watch it, and when I do, it sucks me out a little bit. But Tom Hanks, like being a good actor, and like I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong, but the way he tries to copy Mr. Rogers' like inflections in his voice, it just doesn't fit. Like my ears just don't match it, and then I'm like, well, that's not Mr. Rogers. And it's just a personal nitpick. It's not even anything that he did wrong. It's still an incredible movie, and he still knocks it out of the park. But I just can't, like my ears, like my brain just fixates on that every time I hear it.
And it would have been my number 1, but dude's only in the movie maybe an hour, 40 minutes to be safe.
True.
Somewhere between there.
Yeah.
It's not, it's you're given a Mr. Rogers movie, but it's not really about Mr. Rogers. And the first day in the movie, he lets that be known, and just like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Top 25 of my favorite, like, if I had to like list 25 of my favorite movies,
Wow.
it would be outside the top 10, top 15 for sure.
Nice.
That's my number 2.
Okay, so my number 3 is going to be Big.
It was close.
Yeah, it was just like
Lack of seeing it for me.
it's just one of the first weird. I guess just one of the first movies I remember watching. I don't know why. My mom liked this movie so much. It may not even be my mom. I probably watched it with my aunt first because she was like a huge movie person, and then I probably just liked it so much that like I just watched it all the time. But I watched Big all the time growing up. And then my mom would make me fast forward through the part where you're not 100% sure if they actually had sex or not. Because he like touches her boob from the outside of her bra. And I mean, like maybe 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds shouldn't see that. it's
I
a
watched
part of life.
Scarface in the 3rd grade.
Yeah, and look how you fucking turned out. Jesus.
Fuck you, man.
I love that movie. He does such a good job. Like there are other movies out there where an adult has to play a child in an adult's body, but Hanks just has that natural innocence to him, like that natural, like watching Tom Hanks when he gets excited in a film. It's just really fun. Like it's infectious. Like when he gets excited, it's like you get excited because he's just so good at like passing that on. So out of all the movies I've ever seen where an adult has to play a child in a grown-up's body, no one will come close to how Tom Hanks did it in Big. And it's a formative movie, like not only because it is a coming of age movie essentially about like a boy who is navigating like puberty and like trying to figure out why he's interested in all of these adult things like boobs, but also still interested in making toys and and baseball cards and things like that. So that one's just it's very personal, very important.
Which is weird because now it's like when you're 30, you're still opening packs of baseball cards. You're like doing childhood things. Like I know tons of people who just buy toys just to put them on the wall.
Yeah.
Baseball cards are huge with like 30s to 40s, like any type of collectible. So now that movie's kind of like, I love the movie. It's great. But it's so funny because it's out of date now because people are like, I don't give a fuck what the ideal of an adult is.
Right.
I love this.
Yeah, I
so
love
I'm going
that.
to keep doing it. And I also like titties.
Yeah, but I think that that's like part of the charm of the movie though, right? Is because everyone else, all the other adults don't know that he's a child in an adult's body. And like that part of him is what attracts them to him so much. So I wouldn't say it's outdated. I would say it was ahead of its time.
Yeah, sure.
That's fair.
That was my number 3. And then my number 2 is Forrest Gump. And I debated really hard about this one because, like, Forrest Gump, it easily gets the most attention. Obviously, a movie that has been talked about so many times ever since its existence. It won Best Picture. But it almost gets to the point to where it's like, you don't even think about Forrest Gump because, like, we know Forrest Gump exists. How many times have you seen clips from Forrest Gump just scrolling through TikTok or the internet or Instagram or whatever? Forrest Gump is just always there. And they made the restaurant an actual restaurant. And so, like, Forrest Gump just permeated itself so, like, solidly into, like, our actual, like, real world that you kind of forget about it as a movie sometimes. And then I rewatched Forrest Gump, which I haven't lately, but I just remember this feeling the last time I watched it. And then I actually take the time to rewatch it, and I'm just like, fuck, that is a good movie.
You stole what I was going to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about it before.
Well, it's my number 1, and yeah.
Forrest Gump's your number 1?
Yeah, for sure.
Huh, okay. I dig that. And, well, you should have said something. I will let you go first.
Oh,
but,
that's all right.
Yeah, he nails it. Like, this is his most... I would say this, out of all the Tom Hanks movies I've seen, this was his most difficult role in that, like, the kind of person that he has to transform and play to. Because if you're going to play someone that has, like, a disability like this, you have to do it very tastefully. He knocks it out of the park. Forrest Gump is an incredibly charming person. He's so easy to pull for, and it's all because of, like, Hanks' performance.
Yeah, this was Mama Wang's favorite movie
Aww.
of all time. Well, it is Mama Wang. She's not dead. This is her favorite movie of all time.
Hey, Tunchi.
So, Mama Wang, this was on all the time. So, I grew up watching this movie constantly.
Yeah.
So much that when you're 5, 6 years old and you don't know
nothing
about movies, that I thought he was mentally challenged until I got older because the role is that well done.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's just been so big, no pun intended, for so long that it's just been a part of our like culture. It's like, oh, that's a good movie. It's a classic, American classic.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were in Orlando.
Yep.
And watching Forrest Gump. We was just flipping through and it was on. We didn't even watch the full movie.
Mm-hmm.
We watched missed like 20 minutes at the beginning. But we started watching Forrest Gump whenever he was like an adult.
Yeah.
That's when we started watching. And we just like both stopped talking, started paying attention to the movie. And when it ended, we were just floored because we were like, holy fuck. That is better than I ever remembered.
Yeah.
And that's why it's on my list because It's a sneaky dog.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come up and like get you right in the retinas and make them eyeballs run with water and the tears and whatnot. And your heart feels like it's going to explode with joy and love and whatnot.
Yeah.
So because of that, it had to be my number one because I just grew up with this movie. And then it's just like punched me. And it was like, remember me, bitch? Pa! I'm good, remember?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like, I love that because it's like I have a whole new outlook on this movie, a whole new respect. And obviously from when I was 5 and back when I knew nothing to now, and I'm reviewing movies on YouTube. I'm in the corner for the last one. That's a huge gap and a huge difference of how I view cinema.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a great experience.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Now that we're talking about it, I wish that I had made it my number one. And it wasn't until like a conversation that made me feel that way. And it's like that movie itself just gave us so many memorable characters because we still use Bubba's mama as a clip.
Yeah.
You know, so
I guess. I think that's your favorite clip.
It's my favorite one to reference in actual conversation,
You do
without
that
a doubt.
lot.
I get. Well, I usually don't know the answer to the questions you ask me, so I guess. I wish that I made that my number one. I didn't. We'll stick with it. So my number one is going to be Catch Me If You Can. I think that you definitely make a fair point in that like it is maybe more of a Leo movie. But as I've talked about many times on the channel before, movies about dad relationships just like hit extra hard for me. And even though Tom Hanks is not his biological dad, it's like he's almost this weird surrogate father. So there's like a turning point in the film where Leo almost just kind of like has this realization that his parents are not ever going to get back together and that there's nothing he can do to fix that. And Christopher Walken is like not a super great dad. And it just shifts to like his only purpose being like finding ways to keep Tom Hanks as the detective interested in him. And like that, like, and also like weirdly understanding that in this like crazy fucked up world that he lives in, Tom Hanks is the only person that like understands his brain and how it's like Tom Hanks doesn't just see him as this like criminal. He does because he's a detective and it's his job to catch him. But it, like he understands that it's not coming from this place of like, I'm just trying to get rich. I'm just trying to watch the world burn. It's like, it's coming from a kid who feels like he has something to prove. And then like the way that Hanks looks out for him in the end when he's in that really shitty French prison, and everything after that, to the point to where like Hanks even is like, hey, like after you're done with your time, like I want you to come work with me. So like it is mostly a Leo movie, but without like Hanks being able to portray, like without him just being everyone's proverbial dad, like it doesn't work as well. And I don't think that there's someone else that you could have put in that role that would have sold it as well. So that's why I initially put it as my number one, because when I think about Hank's roles, it's the one that like I'm immediately like gravitated to the most for like a personal connection.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, I had my number 3, which he's a mechas to his number 1. To me, it's a total Leo movie. And this may be a stretch, but as soon as Leo plays Tom Hanks like a bitch in that hotel room, I'm 3,000% invested in Leonardo DiCaprio playing this man every chance he gets. So making him feel like a buffoon, I don't really give a fuck about that character as much. So you could have put really anyone in that role, I think. Maybe not, but to me, I was just like, Tomfoolery, because he just got fooled. And Leonardo DiCaprio all the way.
Well, he goes to jail, so.
Yeah, but he gets out. He gets out, gets a job, dog.
He also got buffooned.
Yeah, he probably like fucking did.
Actually, multiple times, because really none of the tricks that he tries to pull are ever ultimately successful. Like maybe for short periods of time, but like he's really just playing himself. So he's kind of a shitbag.
He was drowning in coochie. He had money.
He married Rachel McAdams.
He married Rachel McAdams. He probably had an orgy with a bunch of flight attendants. And then he got a dad at the end. So, good for... He comes out like a where to me. But tell us your thoughts, your top 5 Tom Hanks films down in the comment section below. Do you have the Apple streaming service? If so, let me get that code so I can review that movie about him and that damn robot. But anyways, scroll back up, hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.